You know that moment you're in a meeting, things get a little tense, and suddenly everyone's eyes just snap to one person. Or maybe it's a family crisis and one voice seems to cut through all the noise. Well, that moment right there, that's the beginning of leadership. It's got nothing to do with a title or a corner office. It's all about attention. So today, we're going to dig into how that simple act of looking at someone can literally shape a group's entire future.
And this is really the whole idea in a nutshell. It's so simple, but so powerful. A leader is just the person we look to when we don't know what to do. It's not about some grand vision or amazing charisma. It's about being the person who becomes the reference point when the way forward isn't clear. That's the spark. All right, so how does that little spark actually turn into a fire? Leadership doesn't just appear out of thin air. It starts with that very human, very instinctual moment where we look to someone else for a clue. Think about it. When nobody knows what to do, our attention just naturally funnels toward one person. This is a pattern we call attention finds a focus. And what's wild is that before anyone is ever named the leader, influence is already taking shape. Suddenly, your behavior isn't private anymore. The pace you set teaches others the pace. What you're willing to tolerate teaches them what's tolerable. And here's where it gets really interesting and really fast. That person's behavior, what they praise, what they call out, and maybe most critically, what they choose to ignore, it becomes the real rule book for the whole group. These little examples start to pile up, and they teach people how things really work way faster than any official policy manual ever could. And when this keeps happening, when the group looks to that same person again and then again, the pattern starts to harden. It's not just a one-time thing anymore. It's become a habit. An informal leader is born. They're now the default person to turn to, whether they have the official title or not. And just like that, a real structure starts to form. Okay, so now we've got this pattern set, this habit of attention. And this right here is the critical moment. This is the fork in the road where the entire future of the group starts to get decided. Take a look at this. This diagram pretty much sums up the whole story. You see those three patterns at the top? That's the formation we just walked through. But look where they all point. Right to that central critical pattern. Leadership reproduces itself. This is the pivot point. This is where the group's culture is truly forged. So what does that actually mean? Well, the crucial point is this. Whatever that first leader did, that becomes the template. The people watching and learning will copy that pattern when it's their turn. This is how a leadership culture spreads. And it's more than just mimicry. It's about copying permission. What people have seen is acceptable behavior for a leader in this group. And that brings us right back to that fork in the road we just saw. That copied pattern, that leadership style that gets reproduced, well, it leads the group down one of two very, very different paths. You either get a path of healthy renewal or a path of slow, quiet erosion. So on one path, you've got renewal. This is a group that's alive, it's adaptable. People speaking up isn't seen as being disloyal, it's actually valuable information. But on the other path, you have erosion. Disagreement gets shut down. The group looks stable from the outside, but on the inside, it's becoming brittle. It can't learn, and it's slowly falling apart. Let's make this real. What does renewal actually look like? Well, it's not some big, heroic speech. It's usually found in these small, visible moments. In this example, a leader gets corrected in public. Instead of getting defensive, she just walks back to her desk and sends out a one-line correction to everyone. The lesson here is huge. It tells everyone that in this group, the truth can move fast enough to actually matter. Now, contrast that with erosion. Picture a team that makes an exception to the rules during an emergency. Totally understandable, right? But years later, the emergency is long gone, and that temporary exception is now just how things are done. They've accidentally trained everyone that if you just shout emergency loud enough, you can bypass the normal process. The group has lost its discipline, one tiny exception at a time. Okay, so you get the model now. It goes from a tiny spark of attention all the way to a culture of either renewal or erosion. So the big question is, how do you use this? How do you actually spot these patterns out in the wild, in your own team, your family, or your community? Instead of just looking at, the quarterly numbers or listening to a leader who talks a good game, what are the real vital signs of a group's health? What should you be watching for to figure out which path your group is actually on? Here are 4 simple but really powerful tests. First, the correction test. Can someone say, hey, I think this might be a mistake without getting punished for it? Second, the harm test. When a decision fails, who pays the price? Is it the people who made the call, or is it people further down the line? Third, the learning test. Does the group actually fix its problems, or do the same issues just keep popping up over and over again? And finally, the boundary test. Are the people with the authority actually feeling the consequences of their own choices? Look, if you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this. A leader's most lasting impact isn't the decisions they make, it's the decision-making patterns they create for everyone else. It's what you teach others about what it means to lead, which they will then copy. And that really leaves us with one final question to think about. Because whether you have an official title or not, people are looking to you. So when they watch you, what patterns are they learning? What kind of leadership are you reproducing? And what kind of future are you building?